This is What's Wild in New Hampshire with wildlife biologist Eric Orff. So where am I this afternoon? Well, let's take a look. See if I can focus a little bit more here. I am on the Suncook River in Allenstown, New Hampshire, doing what I did for more than 20 years as a wildlife biologist. For the New Hampshire Fish and Game Department. Each year, New Hampshire Fish and Game wildlife biologists fan out across the state over the winter to do what's called a midwinter waterfowl survey. You'd be surprised to learn that not just in New Hampshire, but Maine and Massachusetts and I'm sure Connecticut and Rhode Island, all the wildlife biologists for the various state agencies go out in the wintertime to do what's called a midwinter waterfowl survey to actually count the number of ducks and geese that are wintering here. And in New Hampshire, we would find every winter several thousand ducks and probably hundreds, maybe 1,000 Canada geese inland. Now, this is in addition to the coastal observations, which were done since the early 50s by an aircraft out of Concord called the Midwinter Waterfowl Survey for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, where you'd fly around Great Bay and out at Thialza Shoals. Well, in addition to that, in the 1980s, we began doing this inland waterfowl survey by late January into February to actually count the number of ducks and geese that were wintering here in New Hampshire. And surprisingly, we found several thousand some winters. Now, I have counted, I think, as many as 300 or 400 wintering ducks right here, but the Suncook River here in Allenstown is more frozen right now than it has been in some of the winters where I've checked. I just counted 26 ducks out there and one domestic goose. So there are less than 100 ducks here, less than 50. 26 is what I just counted, and they were all mallards. So sometimes we'll get some black ducks here in town in Allenstown or Suncook on the Suncook River, but today it is mallards only, and there are 26. And maybe I'll shoot their waterfowl biologist for a Fish and Game, Jessica Carloni, an email to say, hey, today I counted 26 mallards on the Suncook River. I love counting ducks. I count ducks year round, and I've been a duck hunter since I could be a duck hunter, since I turned 16. So yeah. And why is the midwinter survey important? Well, it goes into the database that will determine what next year's duck season should be, how long the season should be, how many ducks that each species should be taking. So waterfowl surveys basically go on almost year-round in the Atlantic Flyway, stretching from Canada down to Florida, I think, down to Virginia anyway, so the Atlantic Flyway. So counting these ducks is part of the annual effort to count the ducks and geese in the Atlantic Flyway. So yeah, 26 ducks today on the Suncook River here in Allenstown, New Hampshire. This is wildlife biologist Eric Orff for What's Wild in New Hampshire.